Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr.Lamba's Awakening Call. People in India are all agog at the withdrawal of the Chinese. And I'm saying withdrawal. But then, is it a withdrawal? Is it peace? India needs to treat it with caution, as I said. It can be one step backward, two steps forward. And sometimes I wonder, where is it that India fails? India has failed miserably. And I repeat it with great agony that India has failed miserably. And the sacrifice of the Indian army in this skirmish, 20 people, with examples of extraordinary bravery, have been negated at the negotiation table. Now imagine a situation, you are in a house. Somebody comes to your house and says, "This is my house." And then you fight. And then you sit down and have a talk or a cup of tea. Here, of course, it was on a telephonic talk, spread over 120 minutes. And then you say, "Okay, we will have peace, we withdraw." Both parties withdraw 1.5 kilometers. Now look at the injustice. It's your property. Somebody has intruded half a kilometer inside. You fight, you lose your lives. And then you say, "Okay, let's withdraw." And what's the withdrawal? 1.5 kilometers each side. So he goes back essentially 1 kilometer away from where he was, and you come back 3 kilometers away from the land, from the place you call to be your territory. What a negotiation! And people are going crazy praising Doval for this humiliating agreement. People are singing paeans about this great achievement. Praise. No, this has been a wrong precedent. And it reminds me of the same sort of agreement which Chamberlain had signed in Munich with Hitler. If India was not prepared to fight it out, it should not have brazenly called for strict action, and expansionism would not be tolerated. And then, the government has not insisted, the government of India, I mean, on the status quo of the line of actual control. That was their contention, that the status quo must be maintained. China has, in a statement, made a very clear statement: we are in our territory and we shall protect our territory. They have not gone back. And there is no mention that China has accepted the fact that this is a territory which belongs to India and they had intruded. As a matter of fact, it's exactly the same position when they fought 1962 war, and then they unilaterally declared peace after killing thousands of the Indian army personnel, and then said, "But still the land is ours. We are going as a gesture of peace." Now, is this a gesture of peace, or is it brazen stupidity and undiplomatic skill of the National Security Advisor? But the National Security Advisor could not have taken this stand without the permission of the government. I'm all praise for Modi, and people have been going to the extent of calling me a Modi Bhagat, which I'm not. But as a person who is a strategist, I would say this is a big diplomatic failure. India has failed to take advantage of the climate of favor generated the globe over. France had committed to help India. USA has all clearly stated that they'll send army if need is there to support India. Pompeo declared sport, Trump declared sport, Macron declared sport, Vietnam, South Korea, Japan declared sport. What more did India need at the international fora? But G. Doval and the foreign minister of China, Wang Yi, they started the disengagement process. Disengagement is when you are fighting at a place which is disputed. When you say it's your land, and then you withdraw from that land. And not only that, basically you are withdrawing more than the Chinese did. Chinese are withdrawing only 1 kilometer from the line of actual control. Is 1.5 kilometers from the presidency. Half kilometer they had included. And you are also already half kilometer away from line of control. So you are withdrawing 1.5 kilometer more. That is 2 kilometers. So who is the gainer? They are nearer the line of actual control. You are faster away. And the foreign minister has attributed clash to the persistent Chinese incursion. Look at the two statements given. I had a look at the Chinese press release and I had a look at the Indian press release. China in the press release says that India is responsible for the clash because the Indian troops entered into the Chinese territory. In a statement issued, China has very clearly said the right and wrong, what happened at the Galwan Valley in the western sector of the border is very clear. China will continue firmly safeguarding her territorial sovereignty as well as peace and tranquility in the border areas. So they are coming out as white, pristine, pure paragons of peace. India has nowhere said so. That they have said as a result of the bilateral talks we are withdrawing. Now, is there a hidden agenda or a hidden decision? Okay, Mr. You withdraw, we withdraw. Maybe after about a month or so, you come back. We don't mind it. After all, who is going to watch later on? We'll instruct our army not to venture forth. It's a supposition. But if we look at that, and then another thing, when Chinese Foreign Ministry gave out the statement, there was not a rebuttal from Indian Foreign Affairs. The NSA, the Prime Minister's Office, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Defense Ministry all were dumb, mute. Did they not read it? And what the hell are the strategy operators doing? And what the hell are the mandarins sitting in the South Block doing? Two sides in Delhi has said very clearly they'll take guidance from the consensus of the leaders and not allow differences to become dispute. No, it's not a difference. Mind you, the language used. They have said that their territory is theirs and they'll fight for it. But in the interest of peace, they are withdrawing. But they're not withdrawing from the right to protect. India is saying that it's a difference, and difference should not become a dispute. What interpretation and what diplomatic failure? Then the both parties have agreed that they should complete the ongoing disengagement process along the line of actual control expeditiously. Tell me, disengagement only means when you are on a property, you're protecting your property, that the intruder, the aggressor goes back. It does not mean that you vacate your house and say, okay, in the meantime, you go away and I'll not only leave my house, but I'll go further down 1 kilometer away so that you are not provoked and then we can talk. And the consensus of the leaders are the borders and the territories decided by the consensus of the leaders. In that case, then why blame Jawaharlal Nehru? The consensus was that excitation should be given to that country, China, because not a blade of grass grows there. And because the blade of grass doesn't grow there, so China could have excitation. That was the consensus. Why was the Indian parliament so agitated? Forcing Nehru to order the Indian army to go and fight, for which it was not well prepared. Since April, Chinese intrusions were being reported to the Finger region of the Pangong Lake, both in the hot springs and the Galwan Valley. Now, India has not in its statement said that Galwan Valley belongs to it. Nowhere. As a matter of fact, the Despang Plains further to the north, China has claimed to the areas of the Finger region of Pangong Lake. Indian soldiers have been pulled back as well, and they say it's a buffer zone. The whole thing contradicts three things. A, your contention that it's your property. You do not vacate your property. The intruder does. B, you are no longer saying ownership. You are simply saying it's a dispute. Rather, you are saying it's a difference and it should not degenerate into dispute. And then, if it was a difference, why did you let 20 Indian soldiers get killed? Why did you spend thousands and thousands of dollars sending 3 divisions, tanks, and everything if you had to say, well, it's a minor difference of opinion? Come on, we'll sit down and talk it out. Ridiculous and absolutely bunk. India has failed miserably on the diplomatic front. And I'm amazed that the Prime Minister has not issued a statement. The first action of the Prime Minister should have been not to have permitted it. And if this decision has been taken without his consent, seeing that many times the Prime Minister would say, okay, you take a decision, we are busy. Then Ajit Govil should have been sacked right away without any further thought. And the Indian army should have been instructed, no, you will not withdraw. This withdrawal is not permissible. This is against the national interest. But no, everybody is quiet, honky donkey, and are praising themselves and patting themselves on the back. I was saying, and I wrote in the morning on my note, it's possible it might be one step backward, then 2 steps forward. I had not read the Chinese statement at that time. I happened to read it after that. And after reading it, it's not one step backward, it is just a half a step backward and maybe an acceptance of the fact that they are going backward because they want us to save face. China has gained from the military terms, diplomatically, and it will be fully justified in saying that India violated the borders, came in those territories which are not theirs. But we, in the interest of peace, paragons of the virtue as we are, we accepted their desire. Maybe that's why we said there are differences. Maybe they have to satisfy their public opinion at home. That can be an influence. And that if Chinese are intelligent, which they are, they'll make use of this agreement to show to the world. Okay, look at what we have been saying all along is correct. India never was legal owner of the land it claims. And that's why we withdrew. Otherwise, and not only, even if you are to withdraw, there should have been a caveat that we are withdrawing, but we are not giving up the right to the land. China has done it, India has not. So it's not only a diplomatic failure, it's a failure of the draftsmanship of the press release. And then Such stupidities, I can't call them anything else. I can't call it a mere lapse. It's just plain unadulterated stupidity. And it amounts to anti-national activities. Ajit Doval has failed miserably. He's an intelligent guy. But this time he has failed miserably. And India has not gained. India has lost the first battle. How it comes up future, let's wait and watch. But I can tell you, if this is the beginning and is not going to be a happy one for India, they say well begun is half done. It's not well begun. No, I'm only waiting to see whether the second proverb, all's well that ends well, would also be there or not. Maybe all's well that ends well would be okay for China, not for India. India has to gird up its diplomacy. It has to have more strategic thinking, creatively, creative thinking, and then application of mind, which India has miserably failed to do. Thank you.